Chapter 12. Broken Pains. On the 15th of August 1930, about 2,000 citizens of Malgudi assembled on the right bank of Sarayu to protest against the arrest of Gauri Sankar, a prominent political worker of Bombay.
An earnest-looking man clad in khaddar stood on a wooden platform and addressed the gathering. In a high, piercing voice, he sketched the life and achievements of Gauri Sankar, and after that passed on to generalities. "We are slaves today," he shrieked, "worse slaves than we have ever been before. Let us remember our heritage.
Have we forgotten the glorious periods of Ramayana and Mahabharat? This is the country that has given the world a Kalidasa, a Buddha, a Sankara. Our ship sailed the high seas and we had reached the height of civilization when the Englishmen ate raw flesh and wandered in the jungles, nude.
But now what are we?" He paused and said on the inspiration of the moment, without troubling to verify the meaning, "We are slaves of slaves." To Swaminathan, as to money, this part of the speech was incomprehensible.
But 5 minutes later the speaker said something that seemed practicable. Just think for a while. We are 336 millions, and our land is as big as Europe minus Russia. England is no bigger than our Madras presidency and is inhabited by a handful of white rogues and is thousands of miles away.
Yet we bow in homage before the Englishman. Why are we become, through no fault of our own, docile and timid? It is the bureaucracy that has made us so, by intimidation and starvation.
You need not do more. Let every Indian spit on England, and the quantity of saliva will be enough to drown England. Gandhi ki jai, shouted Swaminathan involuntarily, deeply stirred by the speaker's eloquence at this point.
He received a fierce dig from Mani, who whispered, "Tool. Why can't you hold your tongue?" Swaminathan asked, "Is it true?"
Which? Spitting and drowning the Europeans. Must be, otherwise, do you think that fellow would suggest it?
Then why not do it? It is easy. Europeans will shoot us, they have no heart, said Mani.
This seemed a satisfactory answer, and Swaminathan was about to clear up another doubt, when one or two persons sitting around frowned at him. For the rest of the evening Swaminathan was caught in the lecturer's eloquence, so was Mani. With the lecturer they wept over the plight of the Indian peasant, resolved to boycott English goods, especially Lancashire and Manchester cloth, as the owners of those mills had cut off the thumbs of the weavers of Dakcha muslin, for which India was famous at one time.
What muslin it was, a whole piece of 40 yards could be folded and kept in a snuff box. The persons who cut off the thumbs of such weavers deserved the worst punishment possible. And Swaminathan was going to mete it out by wearing only khaddar, the rough homespun.
He looked at the dress he was just then wearing, in chagrin. "Mani," he said in a low voice, "have you any idea what I am wearing?" Mani examined Swaminathan's coat and declared, "It is Lancashire cloth."
"How do you know it?" Mani glared at him in answer. "What are you wearing?" asked Swaminathan.
"Of course khaddar. Do you think I will pay a pie to those Lancashire devils? No.
They won't get it out of me." Swaminathan had his own doubts over this statement. But he preferred to keep quiet, and wished that he had come out nude rather than in what he believed to be Lancashire cloth.
A great cry burst from the crowd, "Bharat Mata ki jai!" And then there were cries of, "Gandhi ki jai!" After that came a kind of mournful, national song.
The evening's program closed with a bonfire of foreign cloth. It was already dark. Suddenly the darkness was lit up by a red glare.
A fire was lighted. A couple of boys wearing Gandhi caps went round begging people to bum their foreign cloth. Coats and caps and upper cloth came whizzing through the air and fell with a thud into the fire, which purred and crackled and rose high, thickening the air with smoke and a burnt smell.
People moved about like dim shadows in the red glare. Swaminathan was watching the scene with little shivers of joy going down his spine. Somebody asked him, "Young man, do you want our country to remain in eternal slavery?"
No, Swaminathan replied. "But you are wearing a foreign cap." Swaminathan quailed with shame.
"Oh, I didn't notice," he said, and removing his cap flung it into the fire with a feeling that he was saving the country. Early next morning as Swaminathan lay in bed watching a dusty beam of sunlight falling a few yards off his bed, his mind, which was just emerging from sleep, became conscious of a vague worry. Swaminathan asked himself what that worry was.
It must be something connected with school. Homework? No.
Matters were all right in that direction. It was something connected with dress. Bonfire of clothes.
Yes. It now dawned upon him with an oppressive clearness that he had thrown his cap into the patriotic bonfire of the previous evening, and of course his father knew nothing about it. What was he going to wear for school today?
Telling his father and asking for a new cap was not practicable. He could not go to school bareheaded. He started for the school in a mood of fatalistic abandon, with only a coat and no cap on.
And the fates were certainly kind to him. At least Swaminathan believed that he saw the hand of God in it when he reached the school and found the boys gathered in the road in front of the school in a noisy, irregular mob. Swaminathan passed through the crowd unnoticed till he reached the school gate.
A perfect stranger belonging to the third form stopped him and asked, "Where are you going?" Swaminathan hesitated for a moment to discover if there was any trap in this question and said, "Why, of course. No school today," declared the stranger with emphasis, and added passionately, "One of the greatest sons of the motherland has been sent to jail."
"I won't go to school," Swaminathan said, greatly relieved at this unexpected solution to his cap problem. The headmaster and the teachers were standing in the front veranda of the school. The headmaster looked careworn.
Ebenezer was swinging his cane and pacing up and down. For once, the boys saw D. Pillai, the history teacher, serious, and gnawing his close-clipped moustache in great agitation. The crowd in the road had become brisker and noisier, and the school looked forlorn.
At 5 minutes to 10 the first bell rang, hardly heard by anyone except those standing near the gate. A conference was going on between the teachers and the headmaster. The headmaster's hand trembled as he pulled out his watch and gave orders for the second bell.
The bell that at other times gave out a clear rich note now sounded weak and inarticulate. The headmaster and the teacher were seen coming toward the gate, and a lull came upon the mob. The headmaster appealed to the boys to behave and get back to their classes quietly.
The boys stood firm. The teachers, including D. Pillai, tried and failed. After uttering a warning that the punishment to follow would be severe, the headmaster withdrew.
Thundering shouts of "Bharat Mata ki Jai," "Gandhi ki Jai," and "Gaura Sankar ki Jai" followed him.
There were gradual unnoticed additions of all sorts of people to the original student mob. Now zestful adult voices could be detected in the frequent cries of "Gandhi ki Jai." Half a dozen persons appointed themselves leaders, and ran about crying, "Remember, this is a hartal.
This is a day of mourning. Observe it in the proper spirit of sorrow and silence." Swaminathan was an unobserved atom in the crowd.
Another unobserved atom was busily piling up small stones before him, and flinging them with admirable aim at the panes in the front part of the school building. Swaminathan could hardly help following his example. He picked up a handful of stones and searched the building with his eyes.
He was disappointed to find at least 70% of the panes already attended to. He uttered a sharp cry of joy as he discovered a whole ventilator, consisting of small square glasses, in the headmaster's room, intact. He sent a stone at it and waited with cocked-up ears for the splintering noise as the stone hit the glass, and the final shivering noise, a fraction of a second later, as the piece crashed on the floor.
It was thrilling. A puny man came running into the crowd announcing excitedly, "Work is going on in the board high school." This horrible piece of news set the crowd in motion.
A movement began towards the board high school, which was situated at the tail end of Market Road. When it reached the board high school, the self-appointed leaders held up their hands and requested the crowd to remain outside and be peaceful, and entered the school. Within 15 minutes, trickling in by twos and threes, the crowd was in the school hall.
A spokesman of the crowd said to the headmaster, "Sir, we are not here to create a disturbance. We only want you to close the school. It is imperative.
Our leader is in jail. Our motherland is in the throes of war." The headmaster, a wizened owl-like man, screamed, "With whose permission did you enter the building?
Kindly go out, or I shall send for the police." This was received with howling, jeering, and hooting.
And following it, tables and benches were overturned and broken, and window panes were smashed. Most of the board school boys merged with the crowd. A few, however, stood apart.
They were first invited to come out, but when they showed reluctance, they were dragged out. Swaminathan's part in all this was by no means negligible. It was he who shouted, "We will spit on the police," though it was drowned in the din, when the headmaster mentioned the police.
The mention of the police had sent his blood boiling. What brazenness, what shamelessness, to talk of police, the nefarious agents of the Lancashire thumbcutters? When the pandemonium started, he was behind no one in destroying the school furniture.
With tremendous joy he discovered that there were many glass panes untouched yet. His craving to break them could not be fully satisfied in his own school. He ran round collecting ink bottles and flinging them one by one at every pane that caught his eye.
When the board school boys were dragged out, he felt that he could not do much in that line, most of the boys being as big as himself. On the flash of a bright idea, he wriggled through the crowd and looked for the infant standards. There he found little children huddled together and shivering with fright.
He charged into this crowd with such ferocity that the children scattered about, stumbling and falling. One unfortunate child who shuffled and moved awkwardly received individual attention. Swaminathan pounced upon him, pulled out his cap, threw it down and stamped on it, swearing at him all the time.
He pushed him and dragged him this way and that, and then gave him a blow on the head and left him to his fate. Having successfully paralyzed work in the board school, the crowd moved on in a procession along Market Road.
The air vibrated with the songs and slogans uttered in 100 keys by 100 voices. Swaminathan found himself wedged in among a lot of unknown people, in one of the last ranks. The glare from the blanched treeless Market Road was blinding.
The white dust stirred up by the procession hung like thin mist in the air and choked him. He could see before him nothing but moving backs and shoulders and occasionally odd parts of some building. His throat was dry with shouting, and he was beginning to feel hungry.
He was just pondering whether he could just slip out and go home, when the procession came to a sudden halt. In a minute the rear rank surged forward to see what the matter was. The crowd was now in the center of Market Road, before the fountain in the square.
On the other side of the fountain were drawn up about 50 constables armed with lathis. About a dozen of them held up the procession. A big man, with a cane in his hand and a revolver slung from his belt, advanced towards the procession.
His leather straps and belts and the highly polished boots and hose made him imposing in Swaminathan's eyes. When he turned his head, Swaminathan saw to his horror that it was Rajam's father. Swaminathan could not help feeling sorry that it should be Rajam's father.
Rajam's father. Rajam's father to be at the head of those traitors. The deputy superintendent of police fixed his eyes on his wristwatch and said, "I declare this assembly unlawful.
I give it 5 minutes to disperse." At the end of 5 minutes he looked up and uttered in a hollow voice the word, "Charge." In the confusion that followed, Swaminathan was very nearly trampled upon and killed.
The policemen rushed into the crowd, pushing and beating everybody. Swaminathan had joined a small group of panic-stricken runners. The policemen came towards them with upraised lathis.
Swaminathan shrieked to them, "Don't kill me. I know nothing." He then heard a series of dull noises as the lathis descended on the bodies of his neighbors.
Swaminathan saw blood streaming from the forehead of one. Down came the lathis again. Another runner fell down with a groan.
On the back of a third the lathis fell again and again. Swaminathan felt giddy with fear. He was running as fast as his legs could carry him.
But the policemen kept pace with him. One of them held him up by his hair and asked, "What business have you here?" "I don't know anything, leave me, sirs," Swaminathan pleaded. "Doing nothing."
"Mischievous monkey," said the grim, hideous policeman. How hideous policemen were at close quarters, and delivering him a light tap on the head with the lathi, ordered him to run before he was kicked. Swaminathan's original intention had been to avoid the day's topic before his father. But as soon as father came home, even before taking off his coat, he called mother and gave her a summary of the day's events.
He spoke with a good deal of warmth. "The deputy superintendent is a butcher," he said as he went in to change. Swaminathan was disposed to agree that the deputy superintendent was a butcher, as he recollected the picture of Rajam's father looking at his watch, grimly ticking off seconds before giving orders for massacre.
Father came out of the dressing room before undoing his tie, to declare, 50 persons have been taken to the hospital with dangerous contusions. 1 or 2 are also believed to be killed. Turning to Swaminathan he said, "I heard that schoolboys have given a lot of trouble. What did you do?"
"There was a strike," replied Swaminathan, and discovered here an opportunity to get his cap problem solved. He added, "Oh, the confusion? You know, somebody pulled off the cap that I was wearing and tore it to bits."
"I want a cap before I start for school tomorrow." "Who was he?" Radha asked. "I don't know, some bully in the crowd."
"Why did he do it?" "Because it was foreign." "Who said so?"
"I paid 2 rupees and got it from the Khaddar stores. It is a black Khaddar cap." "Why do you presume that you know what is what?"
"I didn't do anything. I was very nearly assaulted when I resisted. You should have knocked him down."
"I bought the cap and the cloth for your coat on the same day in the Khaddar stores. If any man says that they are not Khaddar, he must be blind. People say that it was made in Lancashire."
"Nonsense. You can ask them to mind their business. And if you allow your clothes to be torn by people who think this and that, you will have to go about naked, that is all."
"And you may also tell them that I won't have a pie of mine sent to foreign countries. I know my duty. Whatever it is, why do not you urchins leave politics alone and mind your business?"
"We have enough troubles in our country without you brats messing up things." Swaminathan lay wide awake in bed for a long time. As the hours advanced, and one by one as the lights in the house disappeared, his body compelled him to take stock of the various injuries done to it during the day.
His elbows and muscles had their own tales to tell. They brought back to his mind the 3 or 4 falls that he had had that day. One was, when Rajam got down from his car and came to the school, and Swaminathan had wanted to hide himself, and in the hurry stumbled on a heap of stones, and there the knees were badly skinned. And again when the policeman charged, he ran and fell flat before a shop, and some monster ran over him, pinning him with 1 foot to the ground.
Now as he turned there was a pang about his hips. And then he felt as if a load had been hung from his thighs. And again as he thought of it, he felt a heavy monotonous pain in the head. The merciless rascals.
The policeman's lathi was none too gentle. And he had been called a monkey. He would see, to call him a monkey.
He was no monkey. Only they, the policemen, looked like monkeys, and they behaved like monkeys too. The headmaster entered the class with a slightly flushed face and a hard, ominous look in his eyes.
Swaminathan wished that he had been anywhere but there at that moment. The headmaster surveyed the class for a few minutes and asked, "Are you not ashamed to come and sit there after what you did yesterday?" Just as a special honor to them, he read out the names of a dozen or so that had attended the class.
After that he read out the names of those that had kept away, and asked them to stand on their benches. He felt that punishment was not enough and asked them to stand on their desks. Swaminathan was among them and felt humiliated at that eminence.
Then they were lectured. When it was over, they were asked to offer explanations one by one. One said that he had had an attack of headache and therefore could not come to the school.
He was asked to bring a medical certificate. The second said that while he had been coming to the school on the previous day, someone had told him that there would be no school, and he had gone back home. The headmaster replied that if he was going to listen to every loafer who said there would be no school, he deserved to be flogged.
Anyway, why did he not come to the school and verify? No answer. The punishment was pronounced, 10 days attendance cancelled, 2 rupees fine, and the whole day to be spent on the desk.
The third said that he had had an attack of headache. The fourth said that he had had stomach ache. The fifth said that his grandmother died suddenly just as he was starting for the school.
The headmaster asked him if he could bring a letter from his father. No. He had no father.
Then, who was his guardian? His grandmother. But the grandmother was dead, was she not?
No. It was another grandmother. The headmaster asked how many grandmothers a person could have.
No answer. Could he bring a letter from his neighbors? No, he could not.
None of his neighbors could read or write, because he lived in the more illiterate parts of Alaman Street. Then the headmaster offered to send a teacher to this illiterate locality to ascertain from the boy's neighbors if the death of the grandmother was a fact. A pause, some perspiration, and then the answer that the neighbors could not possibly know anything about it, since the grandmother died in the village.
The headmaster hit him on the knuckles with his cane, called him a street dog, and pronounced the punishment, 15 days suspension. When Swaminathan's turn came, he looked around helplessly. Rajam sat on the third bench in front, and resolutely looked away.
He was gazing at the blackboard intently. But yet the back of his head and the pink ears were visible to Swaminathan. It was an intolerable sight.
Swaminathan was in acute suspense lest that head should turn and fix its eyes on his. He felt that he would drop from the desk to the floor, if that happened. The pink ears 3 benches off made him incapable of speech. If only somebody would put a blackboard between his eyes and those pink ears.
He was deaf to the question that the headmaster was putting to him. A rap on his body from the headmaster's cane brought him to himself. "Why did you keep away yesterday?"
asked the headmaster, looking up. Swaminathan's first impulse was to protest that he had never been absent. But the attendance register was there.
No, I was stoned. I tried to come, but they took away my cap and burnt it. Many strong men held me down when I tried to come.
When a great man is sent to jail. I am surprised to see you a slave of the Englishman. Didn't they cut off, Dakcha Muslin, slaves of slaves?
These were some of the disjointed explanations which streamed into his head, and which, even at that moment, he was discreet enough not to express. He had wanted to mention a headache, but he found to his distress that others beside him had had one. The headmaster shouted, "Won't you open your mouth?"
He brought the cane sharply down on Swaminathan's right shoulder. Swaminathan kept staring at the headmaster with tearful eyes, massaging with his left hand the spot where the cane was laid. "I will kill you if you keep on staring without answering my question," cried the headmaster.
I couldn't come," stammered Swaminathan. "Is that so?" asked the headmaster, and turning to a boy said, "Bring the peon." Swaminathan thought, "What, is he going to ask the peon to thrash me?"
"If he does any such thing, I will bite everybody dead." The peon came. The headmaster said to him, "Now say what you know about this rascal on the desk."
The peon eyed Swaminathan with a sinister look, grunted, and demanded, "Didn't I see you break the panes of the ventilators in my room?" added the headmaster with zest. Here there was no chance of escape.
Swaminathan kept staring foolishly till he received another whack on the back. The headmaster demanded what the young brigand had to say about it. The brigand had nothing to say.
It was a fact that he had broken the panes. They had seen it. There was nothing more to it.
He had unconsciously become defiant and did not care to deny the charge. When another whack came on his back, he ejaculated, "Don't beat me, sir. It pains."
This was an invitation to the headmaster to bring down the cane 4 times again. He said, "Keep standing here, on this desk, staring like an idiot, till I announce your dismissal." Every pore in Swaminathan's body burnt with the touch of the cane.
He had a sudden flood of courage, the courage that comes of desperation. He restrained the tears that were threatening to rush out, jumped down, and, grasping his books, rushed out muttering, "I don't care for your dirty school."